every 4 years, the liberal media nominates the Republican candidate for president, and that candidate is the weakest possible candidate that maximizes the chances of the Democrat nominee for president becoming the next president of the United States. They don't always succeed, but that's what they do every 4 years, and that has been the case for decades. Why did Trumplicans think it was going to be any different by nominating Donald J. Trump? I mean, think about it. What does the media do? What does the media always try to do to Republican candidates, especially at the presidential level? They try to destroy them. They try to scandal monger. They try to just wipe them out in propaganda terms. So, in that context, in light of that, isn't it incumbent, no pun intended, upon Republicans to make sure that whoever they nominate for president doesn't have a single skeleton in their closet? It's like I said for years, folks. Republicans don't get to get away with anything. The Democrats can get away with everything. Republicans don't, and never will. Republicans have no margin for error. They can't make mistakes. And Donald Trump was a great big middle finger to that reality. That's what it was. I mean, it's like, well, media are against us. Well, we're just going to nominate somebody who's everything that they say we are. How is this a good strategy? I mean, think about it. Donald Trump, 30 plus years on the national stage, everybody knew who Donald Trump was and is. He's written books, or ghost-written books, about his womanizing and his abuse of women and grab him by the pussy and all this stuff. I mean, how brilliant do you have to be to know that Donald Trump was a huge sex scandal waiting to happen? And there's so many other scandals, too, just waiting to happen. But this is not difficult. I mean, stop and think for a minute, folks. In case any of you Trump supporters want to say that, well, they do that to every Republican. Oh, really? Sex scandals? Well, let's think for a minute. Was there any big Mitt Romney sex scandal? Yeah, right. Was there any big John McCain sex scandal? Well, the New York Times tried right after he clinched the 2008 Republican nomination in March or April of 2008. That didn't even last a week. That didn't go anywhere. George W. Bush. Was there any big George W. Bush sex scandal? No. How about Bob Dole? He didn't start doing his Viagra commercials until after his presidential run, remember? George H.W. Bush, wouldn't be prudent, so no. Ronald Reagan, no. Gerald Ford, no. Falling down the steps of Air Force One, yeah, that's smooth. Richard Nixon theoretically didn't even have genitals, so I mean, there's a reason why none of these men had sex scandals about them, arise about them, or being accused of it, not even being smeared by it. It's because it was ridiculous, because they didn't have whatever skeletons here and there. I mean, yeah, I know Bush 43 had the DUI thing 5 days before the 2000 election. And that was an unforced error on his part. And then they had to, 4 years later, Dan Rather, courage, had to try to make up the Texas Air National Guard, whatever that was. I don't even remember anymore. but none of them had sex scandals. They didn't have those skeletons in their closet. So it's like Trumplicans are saying, just throwing prudence, throwing rationality, throwing reason to the wind, and just saying, we're going to nominate somebody right in the teeth of the media. Everything that they say we are, that's what we're going to give them. How is this a good strategy? It doesn't make any sense. But then nothing about Trumplicanism makes any sense. That's why I don't have quite the same take on Pussygate as Streef does at Red State. He thinks the sexual assault hit on Trump is a masterwork of political attacks. To me, it was an inevitable media exploitation of a gaping, raw, sucking wound of a public relations vulnerability. I mean, Donald Trump, if you were going to give the media the best, the greatest gift that you could give them, gift wrap on a silver platter, it would be Donald Trump as the Republican nominee. And somehow Trumplicans thought that Trump was gonna change the rules. He was gonna defeat the media. Yeah, how'd that turn out? Well, the GOP primaries, GOP primaries, that's right, because the media wanted Trump. They knew that he was the only candidate on the Republican side that Hillary Clinton could defeat. And you handed it to them, you handed them the country on a silver platter, Trumplicans. So, I mean, is this a masterwork of political attacks, or is this just media standard operating procedure? Now, Streef is going to take a step back from the swirling maelstrom of stink engulfing Donald Trump and those kissing his ass. That would be you, Sean Hannity, and admire the professional hit we've just witnessed. Self-inflicted. The Israeli assassins in Operation Wrath of God have absolutely nothing on the people who have just carried out an epic political, well, it would be epic if it was on anybody but Trump. That will be studied for years to come. This is how you turn what could be a series of troubling innuendos into a potentially campaign-killing hit. But it only works if your target is an egomaniacal buffoon and is advised by cretins. And the media is a wholly owned subsidiary of the party making the attack, as is now the GOP. Think about it. You don't nominate Trump, the media can't pull off their head, right? Here's the setup. At around 11 a.m. a week ago, Friday, October 7th, Washington Post reporter David Farenthold received from an undisclosed source a copy of the videotape in which Donald Trump seems to have confused how to socially interact with adult women with how to carry a six-pack of beer or a bowling ball. Keep in mind, the tape was recorded in 2005. Several people questioned why it suddenly found the light of day now. There were flashbacks to how George W. Bush's long-past DUI citation reappeared the Thursday before Election Day 2000. Well, welcome to politics. The debate, or the second joint press appearance, as I refer to it. Now, of course, there was a second joint press appearance on October 9th, last Sunday, between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Predictably, Donald Trump was given the opportunity to deny everything, and predictably, after 3 or 4 rounds of hemming and hawing, he did.
Just for the record, though, are you saying that what you said on that bus 11 years ago, that you did not actually kiss women without consent or grope women without consent?
I have great respect for women. Nobody has more respect for women than I do.
So for the record, you're saying you never did that?
I said things that, frankly, you hear these things are said. And I was embarrassed by it, but I have tremendous respect for women.
Have you ever done those things?
Women have respect for me. And I will tell you, no, I have not. And I will tell you that I'm going to make our country safe. We're going to have borders in our country, which we don't have now. People are pouring into our country, and they're coming in from the Middle East and other places. We're going to make America safe again. We're going to make America great again, but we're going to make America safe again.
Uh-huh. Ben Shapiro tweeted out at that moment last Sunday evening, quote, "This exchange is the setup. The next week is going to be the punchline." Or as Red State co-founder Josh Trevino said on Facebook, quote, "Let it be understood, at the point at which this question was asked of the Republican nominee at the Sunday evening joint press appearance, it was 100% certain, and, here's the key, foreseeable, that this story was cued and ready to go." Remember last spring when donk operatives were talking about, well, they haven't released 90% of all the Oppo research we got on Trump. They're just waiting for the opportune time to let it fly. Welcome to the room after it hit the fan. Denials are secured prior to revelations. Trump walked right into it. His ego wouldn't let him do anything else. That's the narcissistic personality disorder. He never imagines that anybody can get anything over on him. And when they do, he just whines and bitches and moans and says, "Oh, it's not fair, not fair, conspiracy theory." No, Trump screwed up on so many levels. Denials are secured prior to revelations, which is why they are only requested when they are known to be false. And any mildly competent observer grasps this. And the question is why the staff of the subject in hand, to say nothing of the subject himself, did not. How brilliant do you have to be to know something like this is coming when your nominee is Donald Trump? Now, I want you to note that the video came from an article that ran in Slate magazine on Donald Trump's denial of the sexual assault charges. Keep in mind that the debate did not start until 10 p.m. Eastern last Sunday evening, and this article was posted either during the debate or shortly thereafter. If you set your Google search for October 9th and 10th, then you'll find a lot of people were interested in Donald Trump's denial. Yeah, you want to talk about the irony of conspiracy theories? It's shit like this that convinces or strongly persuades me that Trump is in on this. Because a lot, can somebody really be that stupid? I mean, the whole 2016 cycle is just one gigantic work. I mean, I don't know. I can't prove it. I'm not even necessarily asserting it, but you can certainly make the case. It's pretty strong. The warm-up. The hors d'oeuvre was the story of Donald Trump strolling into the Miss USA pageant changing room as though it was a dressing room at your typical Target. I say that only half in jest because I fail to understand how people who are in favor of adult men going into the women's locker room at the gym or the pool can be opposed to an adult man going into the changing room at a beauty pageant, and yet they are. That's a good point. Now, here comes the hit. Wednesday, this week, 2 days ago, the New York Times reported on 2 more women who said they had been sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. There was a pause as the Trump campaign was sucked in a bit deeper. Natasha Bertrand, one of the victims, tweeted, "Trump campaign advisor A.J. Delgado, any reasonable woman would have come forward immediately after being sexually harassed." Oh, really? And then we were off to the races. But to understand the true beauty of what happened, you have to look at the sequencing of the women coming forward. Note, I don't know who Luke Thompson is, but his analysis is spot on. Here's what he tweeted. Okay, Trump is horrible, but I want to talk a little bit about the oppo dump that's happening in real time. This is world-class work, folks. And Trump made it so easy. It didn't have to be world-class, especially if Trump is actually in on it. Now you have a perfect storm. A brilliantly coordinated drop with staggered revelations. I mean, it's like the analogy of how, why, or how you hammer a nail into a wall. You don't put the hammerhead on the head of the nail and just push. No. You bring it back and you strike it. You bring it back and you strike it again. You bring it back and you strike it. And then with each blow, the nail goes further into the wall. You say the same thing about a pile driver when you're trying to drive something into the ground. Well, here, that's what this is. That's the analogy. I mean, now you have a perfect storm. And again, it was made effortless by Donald Trump himself. Now, keep in mind that Hillary Clinton has the ability to lose this race, although she'd have to die now, I think. I really do. But even that ability, Hillary Clinton being the worst, weakest, most pathetic major party national presidential candidate of the modern era, is not enough to turn this race to Trump. Not at this point. She would have to die or suffer a massive stroke that totally incapacitated her. That's what it would take. I mean, she has screwed up everything that she has touched in her life, from her marriage to her parenting to setting off a regional war and refugee crisis in Europe. So, but she can't lose this. It's just too much. I mean, right now, Americans will be voting against the most detestable person on the ballot and not voting for the future of the nation. And that person against whom they will be voting is Donald J. Trump. I mean, after all, Hillary Clinton's scandals are boring. They're inside baseball. They're dry. Well, okay, I guess a lot of blood flowed in Benghazi 4 years ago, but not the right kind of bodily fluids. I mean, America wants to be entertained, remember? They don't want leaders, they want celebrities. They don't want people who are better than they are, who can inspire them and persuade them to do things that they don't want to do. They want people who are just as pathetic as they are. You know, it makes them feel better about themselves or something. And yet, nobody embodies that more than Donald Trump, and yet they bow down and worship this asshole. But he's more, scandals, it shouldn't be this way, folks. It shouldn't be this way. Hillary Clinton should have been totally disqualified from even running. Yeah, she does belong in jail, but that's not going to happen, and we all know why. Donald Trump belongs in jail. That's not going to happen, and we all know why. But Hillary Clinton is going to end up in the White House, and thanks to Donald Trump, and we all know why. So all this bitching about the media is doing it again. Well, you know what? You don't have to help them. You don't have to lend them a hand. I mean, the media hit on Trump. Well, don't nominate somebody that's so easy for the media to turn against us. Jesus. Acknowledge reality. Don't try to flip middle fingers at it. That's not going to accomplish anything except burial, self-destruction. And don't bitch about double standards. God, everybody knows about the double standards. You know, my friend, my Trump-loving friend, Jennifer Crawford, she's always bitching and moaning about media double standards and media hypocrisy. Well, yeah, no kidding. How long has that been the case? Half a century? More? I mean, yeah, the media, the left is hypocritical. Deal with it. That's the way they are. You got to accept. Yeah, I get back to Nick Fury's comment to Captain America in Cap 2, The Winter Soldier. S.H.I.E.L.D. takes the world as it is, not as we would like it to be. And it's getting damn near past time for you to get with that program, Cap. Jen. The media, the left, pardon the redundancy, they have all kinds of double standards. They're hypocrites. And in their minds, they get to be, because remember, they're moral supremacists. So they get to do anything they want. Something is only wrong when Republicans do it. That's the left-wing line. And now, apparently, that's the Republican Party has adopted that philosophy as well. Nothing is wrong unless the Democrats are doing it. It's okay if we do it, not them. There's no other explanation for how you can have Trumplicans howling about Bill Clinton and his infidelities and his sexual assaults and abuses and his rapes and so forth, and at the exact same time defending the exact same thing coming from their candidate, Donald Trump. There's no other explanation. Sexual assault, lying, rape, misogyny, racism, sexism, bigotry, homophobia, blah, 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 whatever. Classism. It's only, these things are not wrong in and of themselves. They're only wrong when the other side does it. When our side does it, it's okay. It's okay. Everything is permissible for a Republican, but nothing is permissible for a Democrat. Is that about added up? That's the mirror reversal of what passes laughably for liberal Democrat ethics. Or in the immortal words of Yosemite Sam, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. Well, that's what the Republican Party has done. That's why I'm not in the Republican Party anymore. My principles still mean something to me, and revenge is not a conservative principle. Conservatism is a conservative principle. The United States Constitution is a conservative principle. And I don't care what Doug calls it, classical centrist, right in the middle, whatever. In the early 21st century, in 2016, the United States Constitution is a conservative principle. It's worth saving. And apparently I believe that a lot stronger than Douglas V. Gibbs does, because he sold out to Donald Trump 5 months ago. So I don't bitch about double standard. The left is a double standard. That's what they do. But Jim Jamatis at Red State wants to bitch about it. Although he does take it where it's supposed to go, just not by the best pathway. Now, the old media is horribly biased against Republicans. They're not biased against Trump. They used Trump. They weren't biased against him in the primaries. They turned against him because he was the Republican nominee. They turned against him because he was the Republican nominee that they wanted, and they got, and that's what Republican voters gave them. So the media is not biased against Trump. They're doing what they always do to whoever the Republican nominee is. They're not biased against Trump. They like Trump. Trump is giving them everything they could have ever dreamed of. And it's not the old media, it's the Enemedia, it's the dominant media. They're dominant, they will remain dominant. They are beyond the reach of the ballot box. That cannot be changed, folks. You can call it old media, legacy media. I don't care. They're the dominant media. Again, that's the reality. Deal with it. They are completely in bed with the Clinton political machine, La Clinton Nostra. Yes, they are. The release of information about Donald Trump's womanizing has been carefully orchestrated to maximize the political damage to his campaign, as is the Trump nomination itself. Carefully orchestrated to maximize the chances of Hillary Clinton's victory. The Clinton campaign is pushing the envelope of hypocrisy by using Trump's sexually predatory behavior against him. Yeah, they are. That's what they do. That's why you don't nominate Donald Trump. Some of the stories about Trump molesting women, well, I don't really think any of them are fabricated. I mean, the only factor that could suggest that some of them might be is just perhaps the physical impossibility of molesting that many women. I mean, we got to be talking in the thousands by this time. Now, some of the now double standards are at play, and that is unfair. But that's what they do. Come on, you can't bitch about the media's not being fair. When has the media ever been fair? You got to take that into account. In your thinking process, where let's see, who do we nominate for president? I know, let's nominate somebody who is the biggest womanizer and sexual predator on the planet. Yeah, that's a good strategy. The media didn't do this to the GOP. The media didn't do this to Donald Trump. Donald Trump and the GOP did it to themselves. Playing field isn't level. The media tears down or attempts to tear down every Republican in a similar fashion. Wow. Yeah, they do. You should know that by this time. No Republican has any excuse for not knowing that and planning accordingly. And even Jamatus admits here, no, that's not me. That's not my pen name. No, I'm Jasmius, remember? None of that means Trump actually isn't a sexual predator, a liar, and a hypocrite. He certainly is. None of it means Trump is objectively a good man. He's not. He's a bad man. None of it means nominating him was a wise decision. It was a terrible decision. None of it means he is fit to be president. He is maximally unfit to be president. And for people handicapped by binary thinking, that doesn't mean in any way that Hillary is. She isn't either. So little thought has taken place on the Republican side in the 2016 cycle. Now, it was written at Red State earlier yesterday. Streef, actually, wrote this about how the sexual assault, like we just discussed, the sexual assault hit on Trump as a masterwork of political attacks, although it really didn't have to be, given its ripe target. Talk about low-hanging fruit. The staged rollout that allowed Trump to make denials before new allegations were revealed is not unlike how Andrew Breitbart and James O'Keefe took down Acorn. If an equivalent story about Hillary Clinton had been similarly executed, the same Trump fans who were now crying foul would be celebrating it as a journalistic magnum opus. Remember? Again, it's bad if they do it, but it's okay if we do it. Moral relativism? I thought the right considered moral relativism to be a bad thing. Trump himself said his indiscretions are fair game. I mean, he didn't say it recently, but... And now that now that his words have been acted upon by the other side, now he's playing the victim as he always does. His ego won't permit anything else. Because nothing's ever his fault. It's all some big dark conspiracy out to get him. Because the people who support him hate the media and the Clintons so much that that's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear how the magnitude of hypocrites that they've become. Never mind that Trump used the same sort of Clintonoid tactics in the primary on his Republican opponents. The fear of a Hillary Clinton presidency, the pathological fear of a Hillary Clinton presidency, is leading people to rationalize and excuse virtually anything, just like Bill Clinton's defenders once did. When Trump said he could shoot someone on the street and not lose his supporters, he was right. It's being proven right now before our eyes. Right now, Trump's apologists resemble the people who decided Anthony Weiner's Twitter account was hacked, was a hill on which it was worth dying. Or on which it was worth dying, yeah. During Bill Clinton's scandals as president, Trump actually claimed that Bill was the victim. You remember this, Trumplicans? That's right. Buzzards of a feather, scumbags of a feather stick together. Much like Trump is claiming to be a victim himself today. He's attacking his accusers just as Hillary attacked Bill's. And people who don't yet know what truth there may be in these accusations are cheering him on while condemning her for the exact same thing. It's bad if the other side it does it, but it's perfectly okay if your side does. Is that where we're at, Republicans? Republicans? You know, it's really not that uncommon for women not to come forward when abused by a man of tremendous wealth and power. But for the sake of the party, many are pretending that it proves the accusation false. Just like Clinton's defenders once claimed. But Bill Clinton's accusers who didn't report him immediately are to be believed without question. For some reason. Double standards are double standards on either side of the aisle. You know, it's funny, the Founding Fathers always warned against what they called factionalism, the two-party system. You starting to see why they were issuing that warning? Are you seeing it yet, brothers and sisters? Trump attacked Bill Clinton, Trump attacked Bill Clinton's accusers at the time, but conceded that Clinton had put himself in that position. Oh, zing! Oh, man, I bet he never imagined that he'd have that turned against him. That logic. Now, presumably, he meant in the position to get caught. Well, guess what? Trump put himself in the position he's in right now. You got no one, Trumplicans, you have no one to blame but your candidate. This is a self-inflicted sucking wound. It's all Trump's fault. He put himself in this position. Not the media, not La Clinton Nostra, not the Republican establishment, which is his personal gerbil herd. Remember, Trumplicans, you and the GOP establishment, the GOP, are on the same side. How does it feel? And not the people on the right, like Never Trump, who never supported him. Nobody else is to blame but Donald Trump and his supporters. Now, the primary difference between Donald Trump, and there is a difference. Primary difference between Donald Trump and Bill Clinton is only the sector in which they earned their wealth and power. No, there's another difference. Bill Clinton didn't write books bragging about his abuse of women, or ghostwrite. He always, I mean, Bill Clinton there was always that 6 degrees of separation. Bill Clinton never got caught until Monica Lewinsky. Well, no pun intended, he got sloppy. Trump has been bragging about it for years, decades. Now, the media covered for Mr. Bill as well as they could because he had power and a left-wing message. They covered for Trump because he was making them money. They only turned on Trump when he decided to pretend to be a Republican. And arguably, it was all part of the work. The work to screw over and destroy the GOP and put Hillary Clinton in the White House. In fact, they even set him up, covering him almost exclusively and helping him get the nomination so that they could knock him down afterward, as many predicted. It's not a difficult thing to forecast. It happens every 4 years. Now, what I cannot condone, first of all, I can't condone anybody voting for Trump. If you're voting for Trump, I fault you because you are either of the enemy or you know better and you're just a cuck. You're weak. And you don't stand for anything you ever claimed to stand for. You are a hypocrite, Doug, Jen. But what I also cannot condone or even make sense out of is how enthusiastic, self-proclaimed cuck-servatives are about doing it. Or are about doing it. Gleefully wallowing with a pig just because he's not that pig. It's maddening to watch the adoring crowds cheering for Trump as he denies assaulting women after we just heard him on tape telling Billy Bush how he assaults them. You can trot out that locker room talk BS if you want, but you're kidding yourself. It's the kind of talk engaged in by men who think they are entitled to take what they want. And that certainly sounds a lot more like a liberal Democrat than a conservative Republican, wouldn't you say? Trump's history should tell you that at least some of what he's accused of has to be true. And that should give you pause. I know it doesn't, Trumplicans, but it should. It should give cuck-servatives pause. Especially if your current line of attack against Hillary is her husband's inability to keep it in his pants. But for so many, it doesn't. Trump is a... They don't even acknowledge that Trump is a scumbag. But even if they were to make that acknowledgement, they'd say, well, he's a scumbag, but he's our scumbag, and that's literally all that matters. You know, Spock of Vulcan once said, a difference which makes no difference is no difference. Trump, Clinton, 601, half dozen of the other. Pot, kettle, black. The reasons I resisted Trump mania this election cycle are becoming, well, they've always been clear to me. They're becoming clearer to my almost namesake here at Red State. At first, it was just disgust at the notion that our side no longer cared whether a candidate was an honorable human being as long as his rhetoric scratched the right itches. Never mind whether he meant any of it. Never mind whether his track record backed any of it up. Never mind if it was completely inauthentic and phony, baloney, plastic, banana, good time, rock and roll. He told them what they're tickling, that he tickled their ears, told them what they wanted to hear. And now Jim Jamatis is realizing what I realized 16 months ago. That what bothers me most is seeing that we, not never Trump, but we in the sense of Republicans, have become them in the sense of Democrats. Republicans have become Democrats. Conservatives have become liberals. If you can't beat them, join them. You people have joined the enemy. And now you are the enemy. And you will be treated as such. And maybe they always were. Does that frighten you more than anything Hillary might do in the White House? Well, it should, because Hillary, you could argue Hillary might not even live out her term. Because this is one of the primary points of contention with Trumplicans, is that they only look at the next election. But you got to look beyond the next election. And I'm not talking about 2020. I'm talking about 2020, 2024, 2028, 2032, 2036, and so on. As I've used the example before, the Republican Party, in terms of actual partisan Republicans, as opposed to Dwight Eisenhower, who just happened to win, the GOP won the bidding to get him to run on their ticket in 1952. You put aside, you don't count Dwight Eisenhower. The Republican Party lost 9 consecutive presidential elections. 9. 8, I guess. 36 years. Yeah, FDR 4 times, Truman, Eisenhower, JFK. No, actually I was right. 9 consecutive presidential elections. If you asterisk to the side Dwight Eisenhower, who really was apolitical, and the Republicans, like I say, just won the bidding for him. And why was that? Because Herbert Hoover was hung around their necks, and GOP never lived that down, and they assimilated. They became part of the left. They became the Washington Generals to the Democrats' Harlem Globetrotters. Well, now that process has begun anew. The GOP is now once again a wholly owned subsidiary of the Democrat Party, and the name Donald Trump is what will dog and Whig-eyes the GOP for decades to come. And what makes it worse, and I guess is the fright factor here, as Jim Jamatis puts it, is that this time a lot of the Republican base will be cheering, thinking that they're actually going to win as they enter the wilderness permanently. But you see, it doesn't matter how good a media hit it was. It doesn't matter that the media is just doing what the media always does. The point, and I keep coming back to it because you people need to understand this, Donald Trump was the godsend that the media and the Democrats were looking for. And this scandal is entirely credible. I don't think there's any question about the fact that every last one of these accusers is telling the truth. Because, I mean, as David French said it yesterday, National Review, Trump supporters, I said it in the previous segment, now David French says it at National Review, Jasmine Echo Syndrome strikes again, Trump supporters have no one to blame now but themselves. Because Trump's accusers are entirely believable, because they say he did the same things he bragged about doing on tape and in ghost-written best-selling novels. You wanted a tabloid candidacy, now you got it. And now you're reaping the whirlwind. This is the wages of it. This is the wages of your foolishness, Trumplicans. Now let's be clear about what happened Wednesday. As woman after woman came forward to describe incidents in which Donald Trump groped them or kissed them against their will. These were not truly cases of he said, she said, where two parties offer sharply contradictory versions of the truth. These were cases of he bragged and she confirmed. In 2005, Trump was caught on tape saying that he did exactly what these women claimed he did. Here's a reminder of what he said. Quote, "You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything." And here is Trump on his approach to a married woman. Quote, "I moved on her, actually. You know, she was down on Palm Beach. I moved on her and I failed. I'll admit it, I did try to fuck her. She was married." Close quote. Now compare those words with the allegations. Jessica Leeds told the New York Times that Trump grabbed her breasts on an airplane and tried to put his hand up her skirt. Rachel Crooks said that he shook her hand, wouldn't let go, and then began kissing her on the mouth. People magazine writer Natasha Stoyanov reports that Trump grabbed her in 2005, around the same time as the Access Hollywood video, when Melania Trump was pregnant with his child. She was interviewing Trump when Melania was in the house and claims this happened. Quote, "We walked into that room alone and Trump shut the door behind us. I turned around and within seconds he was pushing me against the wall and forcing his tongue down my throat. Then she says that he said this. You know we're going to have an affair, don't you? He declared in the same confident tone he uses when he says he's going to make America great again. Have you ever been to Peter Luger's for steaks? I'll take you. We're going to have an affair, I'm telling you. He also referenced the infamous cover of the New York Post during his affair with Marla Maples. You remember, Trump said, best sex I ever had. I feel like I need to take a shower already. Now, the similarities between the allegations and Trump's boasts are downright eerie. And these aren't the only accusations. More women are coming forward, including women who claim that he strolled into changing rooms at the Miss Universe pageant and oogled the contestants, including underage girls, just because he could. Trump supporters are now reduced to stamping their feet about the timing, like this wasn't predictable. Why are we hearing about this only now? The media's out to get Trump, and you people have helped them do it. Yeah, well, the media's out to get Trump. Well, so what? Is anyone shocked that a man who bragged so openly about his sexual sins, who lies habitually, and who so obviously enjoys asserting dominance over people with less power would have such skeletons in his closet? Again, how clairvoyant do you have to be to foresee this? No. If you're a Trump fan, this one's on you. Your eyes were wide open. You were warned, and you took the plunge anyway. And now you have become, as Eric Erickson noted on Wednesday, the very thing you were claiming just days ago to hate. The kind of person who excuses multiple accusations of sexual abuse, some of them decades old, in the pursuit of political power. Trumplicans, you should be furious at two people today. Donald Trump and yourselves. Trump had the audacity in the days after the tapes leaked, not only to publicly ally himself with Bill Clinton's accusers, but also to unequivocally deny doing the things he boasted about doing. Is it any wonder that a woman would come forward now? I mean, he threw down the gauntlet. I mean, think about this for a minute, folks. Donald Trump's best action, best alternative, was admitting, hey, I'm a bleeping liar. Which is also something that we've been telling you for 16 months. And you didn't listen. I know it's Trumplicans and conservatives aren't capable of this anymore, but it would profit you to do some soul searching. All of you. It's not like you supported a pastor who claimed to be holy and fooled everyone. It's not like you supported a family values politician who lived a double life. You supported a man who has loudly and proudly defied Christian morality for his entire life. If you're surprised, then you're a moron, and you have no one but yourself to blame. I mean, the truth is, the bottom line is, we should care far less about the timing than about the truth. And the truth is that women are coming forward to share stories confirming behavior that Donald Trump boasted about himself. That's the heart of the matter. Everything else is just spin. This is what you wanted, Trumplicans. You wanted Donald Trump. You wanted a celebrity. You wanted a tabloid candidate. And now, you got what you wanted. It's like Nyota Uhura once said, be careful what you wish for. You may get it.